But one thing I definitely know about 100% is where these elections are going. And you heard it here first, folks. Remember the date, because we're 5 to 7 months out from the next election. But you know me, I like making predictions, and they're usually bang on, scarily correct. It was about the 25th of October. I came to the realization, and I was talking to someone from the left, and I was talking to someone from the right, and it appears to me that the next election is going to be another Labor win. It appears to me that Albo is going to win a minority government. And why am I so confident? Well, I'm looking at what these people are doing in these think tanks on the right. I'm looking at what's going on with the Liberal Party. I'm looking at exactly what's going on with the seats that they're targeting. They're not targeting the right seats.
Right.
Now, if we could just bring this map up, the reason why I'm trying to get these maps out to as many people as possible, anyone that'll listen, is these particular maps show you exactly the right seats to go after. Again, if you want one of these maps, you can email me at joel@thearcpodcast.com. These maps are critical because what they show you is the last election results, but also the referendum results overlaid with it. Why the referendum results? The referendum results show you, it's basically was our MAGA vote. If you voted against the voice, if you voted no, if you were part of that 60 to 70% that didn't like what Albo was buying, was selling you, then you're more likely to believe in freedom of speech, conservative values for your kids. You're against the LGBT agenda. You were probably against the jab. You're against the lockdowns. There's a very high predictability with that. Now, you would think that a lot of these think tanks on the right, you would think that the Liberal Party would therefore be targeting the seats that voted the highest sort of no areas. They're not. They're actually targeting 60% yes voting areas. So when I look at this map, in order for the Liberals to form government, they need to find 19 seats. I don't see it from the strategy that they're doing. I don't see it. So that means that there's a domino effect that's going to take place over the next 3 years. And sorry, give me some rope. Stick with me for a second. Let's assume for a second that Albo gets a minority government in the lower house. He still forms government, but he has to go in coalition with either the Greens or the Teals. That then means Peter Dutton is going to be seen as a failure. The Liberal Party will turf him out. They'll say, you're unelectable, you're XYZ. They do this every time.
Well, they didn't do it with Tony Abbott.
They got rid of him after something like 40 consecutive polls where he lost. So he was actually a winning prime minister, and they still got rid of him. But the left play really good battles like that in the Liberals. They will turf... they will get rid of Peter Dutton. He will either resign or they will do a popular vote against him within the party. They'll put someone in a bit more like a Malcolm Turnbull or a Scott Morrison, which will be more left-wing, believe it or not, than Peter Dutton. They will inevitably lose at the next federal election after that, May 2028. And then it's only at that point we will see a situation where we can actually see a Liberal Party go back to its roots, the Menzies We Believe statement that believes in small business, the individual to start a business. Now, some of you might
Sorry, mate, so when can I come back to the country? 2028 or 2030?
Bear with me. One more thing. One more thing.
Damien, I'm hearing some really great things about Saudi these days. It's becoming more liberal. There's some great investment opportunities. There's not a lot of government regulation. Let's move there for a bit.
One more thing, because this is critical, because everyone's going to probably be writing in the chat right now, and I can see it. They're like, Joel, what are you talking about the Liberal Party? You need the Liberal Party in order to form government. Why not vote minor party? That's what people are saying. The problem with the minor parties is they don't get more than 15 to 20% of the vote in each state. And they are not going to amalgamate until after May 2028 because Pauline Hanson is the dominant minor party. She has at least 5% wherever she runs a candidate, even if it's a ghost candidate. She always runs and gets at least 5%, which is more than any other minor right party. In May 2028, she's up for re-election. She will run, she will win that, and she will renew her 6 years, and she will hand that off to someone. A lot of people are saying James Ashby or someone else. Whoever it is, it's not Pauline. Their vote will collapse, and it's only at that point the minor parties will actually have to come together and form something new. I have a feeling of what that might be, but in terms of who is going to lead the right in this country, check back in May 2028 once we conclude.
Can I just say something to everybody who's sending a message now saying vote for a minor party or minor parties are the answer? Go do one of two things. Go hand out how to vote cards at the next election in your area. for 2 hours at least and watch the average voter and the way that they think and the way that they don't think, actually.
Yeah.
So watch that. Secondly, and how disconnected and disengaged they are from politics. Okay.
Yeah.
Or run yourself for a minor party like I did, and you'll realise that it is really an uphill battle. That Australians are so wedded to voting for one of the two major parties that the only way to change things is for people to join the main right-wing party and make it the way you want it to be.
Make liberal again.
Make Liberals liberal again. We've got to get inside the Liberal Party. That's where the action is. That's where the game is played. It's not played outside. It's inside the party, and it can happen because so few people go to these branch meetings. Right? It's the same people. And if 100 people just got together and went, you know what, we're going to go to our branch meeting, and another 100 people in another area went, we're going to go to our branch meeting, and another 100 people, it wouldn't even need 100, 20 would do it.
That's what Antic did. And
Yep, that's what Alex did in South Australia.
So they've
and he
taken
did
it.
it. The religious right or the conservative right was able to...
It's happening in WA as well.
Yep.
You know, Antic in South Australia, he went round to all the churches. He said, look, if you vote in pre-selections, you get more people like me into office and not people like Malcolm Turnbull. That's not
got to join the party. Now, the problem is that they're keeping people out. So they're very... So you got to be a little bit sneaky about it, actually, probably.
So someone like myself, there's no way... I don't even...
I can't get... I tried to go back in after the election, and they wouldn't have me. So
you can force yourself into the party, but I think from a perspective of voters, based on what Stephen Peters said, which I didn't know, if you put a minor party first and then preference the Liberals or the Labor, if that's the way that you're inclined.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You take away their, what is it, $3.80 or whatever it is per voter.
Yeah, $4 to $6.
So, yeah, take their money.
Yeah, it's
Maybe then you
Well,
get...
you have to get a certain
idea,
number
but
of
few
votes
people
to get
do
that money. So if you don't get, I think, 4% of the vote, I got 2.7%. So I just blew 15 grand of my own money. I didn't actually get anything back out of it, right? Which I wasn't seeking to do that. Would have been nice to have some money to play with. I probably would have given it to the Liberal Democrats, who was the party that I ran with. But I think, unless we're making that change inside the big, it's really about marketing and branding more than it is about the game. Because I mean, Australia's actually set up pretty well for.
There's a few things.
Preferential voting is pretty good.
100%
right?
preferential voting, publicly funded elections. There's a few things going for us. And by the way, guys, this isn't a Liberal Party shill page. We are the hardest on the Liberals ever. Like no one else. Sky News, I wish they were more hard on the Liberals. There's nothing stopping you from joining the Liberal Party, voting in pre-selections. And if they don't do what you're happy with, you can still have the liberty to go and vote and volunteer at the election for your favourite minor party. But in
a lot of people don't realise that.
They don't realise that. And that's what's funny. There's a great line in the Bible, my people suffer because of their lack of knowledge. We're like a soccer team that doesn't know the rules and we keep getting red cards and we don't understand why.
Yep.
That's why this show exists. That's why people like Damien Coory do a phenomenal job in what he's doing on his show. But look...
I think the reason why we are so hard on shows like this on the Liberal Party is because I'm going out on a limb and making an assumption that most of us are formerly Liberal or still currently Liberal.
It's like why we're hard on Australia, mate. I mean, you were saying before, I'm down on the Australian people. You were down on Australia as generally in the business side of things. And it's like,
but not
we're down on Australia because we love Australia.
Exactly, not the Australian people. I love the Australian people.
Absolutely.
I think this is the best country that you could live in if we just had some decent management. And although I am born and bred Western Australia, well, I haven't bred, but born in Western Australia, I think Sydney is one of the most beautiful cities that you could have. But you try going out on a Friday night in Sydney, and it's dead compared to what it was when I was a teenager. So I don't like the way the place is run.
No.
But I love Australians and I love this country. And I just hate to see all of these opportunities that are being continually taken away from us. The Liberal
we're
Party
all here
I
because we're fighting for it.
Yeah.
We're all at this desk because we are fighting for Australia.
Now, I flirted with
I can't think
joining
of
as
anyone
a-
rather be really tonight, though, guys. It's nice. And I'd like some more whiskey, please, John.
I left you the bottle next to you, actually.
Did you? Oh, my God.
I did. So go.
I flirted. By the way, I'm drinking iced tea. I don't know what he's on. I flirted with joining the Young Liberals under John Brogdon when I was a teenager, or more so, they were actively trying to bring me in. And I very seriously, considered a career in politics because of some of the things that I was unhappy with, or some of the things that I wanted to make changes to, right? And, with all of that ambition and the ideals of, that teenagers have, and, well, first I'm a dual citizen, so I couldn't have done anything, but I didn't know I was a dual citizen at that time. But the reality is that I think that I would be a good contribution to any country. And the fact that people like me end up leaving in frustration, and then when you get a little bit older, I'm 40, so I'm not too old, but you look back at Australia and go, well, do I want to come back and bang my head up against the wall and butt heads with politicians and government, or do I just want to live my life somewhere where I've got more freedom? Do I want to get back together with my ex, or do I want to just continue the relationship with the beautiful girl that I've got now? That's kind of the question, and that's what happens with Australia. So you look at Australia and go, look, I'm not going to sit here and argue forever trying to get things done. I'm just going to take a moment more just to go on one more slight rant, if that's okay with everybody.
Certainly.
Milk. So
Yes.
It's going to sound totally random.
I think about milk every day.
Sound totally random, okay? So,
Where's he going?
having travelled to the Middle East, you go to the Middle Eastern shops and you see the, like Carrefour and places like that, and you see all the different meat products. And you've got like Indian and Pakistani meat, and you sort of keep going, across all these different countries. And then right at the top of the list, the most expensive stuff is Australian meat and New Zealand meat products.
Yep.
Okay? They love our products. They love our produce. And I would say, having travelled all over the world, that our agriculture is the best quality in the world by far. They want our milk. China wants our milk. And we're not selling it. If you guys remember the baby formula stuff, Coles and Woolworths used to put a limit on how much you could buy. Why? Because Asians were buying it and shipping it back to Asia. Now, I don't know if I'm the only genius that thinks like this, but if they want our stuff and it's causing shortages in our grocery stores, shouldn't we just produce more of it and sell it to them?
Good God, man. You stop making sense.
So, from what I understand, what we needed to do in order to bring up that supply was we needed to build a milk processing facility that would have cost around $20 million. Now, that's nothing for private enterprise and it's nothing for government. A lot of money for us, but from enterprise or government, that's nothing. Not only did they not fund it, but as I understand it, they actually blocked other companies from doing it when they wanted to. What was the result? The result was two things. One, that some Asian investors, especially Chinese investors, started buying up farmland in Australia so that they could actually ship the stuff themselves. And two, we lost that to Fonterra in New Zealand. Now, I have nothing against Fonterra and I have nothing against New Zealand. But while our farmers are trying to expand into other markets, this was an obvious one. And that $20 million would have resulted in an extra $2.5 billion in milk exports from this country. $50 million a week, and that's just talking about the milk that we would have brought out of Victoria and New South Wales.
You can't encourage productivity in our farmers. That's where we're putting our wind farms and our solar panels.
And that's the reason why
Can't put a
people
good
like me
wind
go-
farm up. You've got a cow in the way.
It's exactly.
And that's the reason why people like me go overseas.
Exactly. And so, look, the reason I bring up all of this, with regards to economics, with regards to elections, is no one's going to tell you this. No one's going to tell you this. We're going to be completely honest with you. This is what these gentlemen are doing with their business. This is what, I see with regards to going forward with elections. I don't have a vested interest. I'm not running. I'm not a member of a political party. I'm telling you guys this so you can sort your lives out, because you've got kids, you've got businesses, and you want to actually flourish. That's why I do this. I don't do this because I get, $1 million a year from the Liberal Party or some crap like that. I do this because I care about you guys. You come up to me in the street. You come up to, I know Damien Coory gets this all the time. People come up to him and say, thank you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for, being unchained from some of these organizations. I want you to be able to sort your lives out with reliable information. I was really troubled during the pandemic. I was at a protest in 2021. I was about 24, 25 years old. Someone came up to me and said, thank you for what you do. I made a decision to mortgage my house on the basis of what you said.
Shit.
And to sell it. And I was like, what are you talking about? I said, I don't talk about that stuff. How did you make... And that's the thing. People need that information to make a decision about their lives. So look, it's not all doom and gloom with regards to the elections. 3 years is actually quite a short time. After May 2028, I can't see beyond that mountain, but I'm very optimistic about the MAGA wave that's going to come after that. There's a lot of building that people like me and others have to do between now and then to build the infrastructure. What happened with Trump with the swing states, people like Charlie Kirk targeting the 7 swing states with infrastructure, ballot harvesting and all that kind of thing, it didn't happen overnight. That was 4 years of building, hundreds of millions of dollars. I think last year Charlie raised $100 million just to fight this election this year. I'm dealing with a budget of like less than $1,000 a week with regards to everything that I'm doing. Now, once a lot of that money works out that it's not yielding the results with regards to these next 2 elections, I'll be right here with a bunch of credibility, a bunch of projects that we've already delivered on, and the numbers to prove it. I mean, the numbers, Damien, you get on your YouTube, it craps on the ABC. Like, we were looking at our stats from the other night, our live stream, concurrently with the ABC's Q&A live stream.
Yeah.
We I think it was like 5 or 10 to 1.
So my
Well, Sky News just goes nuts too, and I mean on YouTube they get a lot of most of because they have a massive audience and following in the US because Americans like to watch, particularly Rita Panahy's
Lefties Losing It.
Yeah, it's a massive show in the US, and people know her from that over there. I think it's 1.5 million views as soon as it goes out. So that's the media, right? So what Capital's got to realise, Mr. Capital, Ms. Capital, whoever you are out there. Is you've got to stop funding think tanks and organisations. I love think tanks. You can keep funding them, but you've got to say to yourself, how many people are they reaching?
Yep.
Right? They hold an event, they get 700 people, and everyone goes, oh, it's so popular, it's so fabulous. Joel Jammal's The Ark is getting thousands of views and hitting young people and the people who really matter and that sort of thing. And, we're putting the money in the other direction because it's more seen or more for some reason it's like, oh, because it's an event.
It's got a higher status.
And I'm not going to name and dump
higher
on any conservative events or organisations because I like them all and I think they're doing a great job and everybody needs to pull together and work hard. But I should not have a podcast, a show that is rating in 5 figures. Who am I? I'm an ex-journalist, hasn't worked in journalism for 20 years, comes back to Australia, sets up a news show. What the,
That's why.
How am I doing this? I'm doing it because it's not big, the real news isn't being provided by anybody. I don't even have a staff. I don't have any journalists on staff. I've got nothing.
Yeah.
And we've got that sort of audience. It's like,
that's
if I
why
was
I
in
said-
America right now, if Joel was in America right now, there'd be people, can we give you some money? Can we grow your business? Can we help you? That is what would be happening. And in Australia, it does not happen. Why? What are we doing wrong? Where is capital? I mean, I've got a bit of money. I put money into it. I put my time into it every week, so I'm not going to put any more in. It's time to pony up, folks. You've got to support these businesses and these startups that are doing the right thing, but you've got to be realistic and look at who's got the audiences, who's getting the traction, right?
It's a million views a week. People don't realise, and it's because when I upload one video, it goes to 25 different accounts on different platforms.
Yeah.
Because of censorship. See, Friendly Geordies, I love Friendly Geordies. I love what he does. I think it's great. I don't agree with everything, but it's good. He only needs one YouTube. He only needs one Instagram. He only needs one Facebook. He only needs one TikTok.
So he, just so people don't know him, he is
a
the
YouTuber,
for
yeah, on the
my
left.
age. A lot of people don't know him. Your age would, but he is the number one political YouTuber in Australia.
For the
right?
lefties, yeah.
And he's on the
absolutely.
left. Yeah.
And so he has one account for each of these platforms. I have to have five for the censorship-prone platforms. So that's like 25 different accounts on everything. So my views are spread across everything.
Oh, right.
And that's because of the COVID year, the censorship. It's like one page goes down on Instagram, so you need another 4 backups and all that. And so when it's not like we're just reaching young people, like we are reaching 1 million people a week, which and then when the elections come around, we put 6 projects out. We do 250,000 how to vote cards. Did you know 4% of people in Canberra in the ACT use our how to vote cards at elections? 4% of voters.
Awesome.
That's insane. In fact, 1.5% of all voters in Australia use our how to vote cards. So we actually are, it's not something I want to do. It's not something I sense that you want to do, Damien, but it's because there are people that say they're going to do this stuff, but they're not delivering the results. I should be in construction. I should be back into my industry. You should be building a multi-million-dollar marketing company.
Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm a journalist and I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And I think you've actually got a very good skill for this. And I think that's great.
Thank you.
But I do see a lot of people who one of the other problems that we've got is I always say, everyone's a media expert and everyone's a PR expert. I should have been a lawyer because then you walk in the room and people know you're the lawyer. But everybody can do media, And I talk to a lot of conservatives like, oh, well, I'll tell you how to do it. It's like, no, you won't. And I don't want to sound arrogant, but, I actually got the runs on the board. I've got a history of this. I know how to do. I know what I'm doing. There's a reason why this show has some success. Because I'm skilled at this and I've got experience at it, just like you've got experience at whatever
and you're
you do.
filling a credibility vacuum.
Right.
Mainstream media has lied to us 24/7 for years.
Yeah.
And at some point, people are tired of it and they look for an alternative, some place where they can go. People are telling them the truth, and they find you, or they find you, and that's what we need. We have to grow organically, despite the censorship, despite the shadow banning.
Yeah.
And
we've got a friend who puts on events and does a very good job of that. Right now, I hate event management. Right, I'm not going to go up to him and go, oh, I can do events better than you can. Or I can put some, but this is what you hear so much, like, oh, I can do it. We can easily just put a studio together and have a pot and just sit around and talk about stuff. It's not that easy. And if you're going to do it every week in and week out, it's hard work, as you know, mate. And so, and Topher Field knows that. And I've seen Matt Wong and people like that who, brilliant at what they do.
Get burnt out.
And they get burnt out and exhausted, like I'm feeling right now at the end of 2024.
I get it.
And it's like, God damn it, where is the support? Like, why are we not getting any support here?
That's why I said a few days ago, and I was being a bit tongue-in-cheek, but if the ABC and the SBS can get billions of dollars worth of funding from the Australian government, if you go back, especially Western Australia,
that's just immoral.
They had community-based radio stations. They had a community television station for a while there. Why don't they provide some funding for independent podcasters? Because they were always talking about community engagement before. That's what they should do. But just to come back a little bit on what you said before about where capital should be going, I think the reason why capital doesn't go to organisations that really would make a difference is because the people with capital aren't trying to actually make a difference. They're trying to network. That's what all these events are.
Yeah.
Having been, I went to I won't name the organisation. I went to a particular event with leading government people, the heads of state from multiple countries, and the entire event was just networking. Nobody cared about what the speeches were about. We all sat there and just played homage to whatever the topic was, but it was all about networking. And that's where the issue is. That's why I sort of come back to what I said before. We need to have organisations that are started where people can hobnob and network and actually have a clear line between point A and the thing that we're trying to achieve. And I think that you might find that a lot of the people that are currently associated with some of the more conservative organisations in Australia, I'm not going to name them because I don't want to have any friendly fire going on, but some of the people that attend those are not as committed as what they say they are to the sorts of changes that we're talking about making.
High net worth individuals are fiddling while Rome burns. I mean, if you don't realize this country is set up for a crisis, just on energy, for one example, and our dependence on foreign powers.
Right thing.
These people have a lot of pull. But instead of actually focusing on those values, they'll go to some of these networking opportunities or allow themselves to be gate-kept by people who don't actually share the values and the priorities that they need to have. If you want a country where your children are going to grow up in a stable, prosperous country, we really need to do something.
Why would a high net worth person care? So we've had a massive influx of immigration into this country.
It's to give back.
Death tax.
Why would a high net worth person? It's because it's to give back. Like the only reason I'm doing this is because my parents came to this country.
Same.
We want to give back to the prosperity.
That's right.
Lebanon is a highly corrupt place, and the only way to get ahead was basically through corruption, essentially. And you come to Australia. That's why Lebanese people, they do tend to flourish quite well. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're not some of them aren't the straightest bunch of people. But there is a big segment of them where they believe in family, they believe in hard work, and they work bloody hard. And Australia has given them that opportunity to flourish. Give back. It's important to give back as service to the country. And everyone that's done well, you need to look at that. There's got to be an element of public service that every rich person sees.
And to give your children a prosperous place to grow up in.
Yeah.
That's what I was responding to. That's what I was responding to. If you're worried about your children, you're a high net worth person. Absolutely, we should give back. all high net worth people should give back to the countries that made them, and perhaps to their own communities if they've immigrated or their parents have immigrated from overseas. Absolutely no question. We've had an influx of immigration to this country, which has created an almost anti-immigrant sentiment in this country. We're not an anti-immigrant country naturally. What we want is for people to come over, merge with society, amalgamate, integrate, build businesses, create a life for themselves and share their culture with us. That's exactly what Australia has been about. However, people like Pauline Hanson and many other people on the right talk about the affordability crisis and the critical housing shortage. The reality is that if you already own property, and if you're a high net worth person, and most or a lot of high net worth people in this country own property, why would you want them to end immigration? Why would you want them to curtail that? Why would you actually want what everybody on the right says? They should release more land, they should build more properties. You wouldn't, because the critical housing shortage forces up the price of your assets. Why would you care about inheritance tax or any other taxation when you can structure things through trusts and foundations and set them up overseas? Do you really care that much, to your point, about whether your children are going to live in a prosperous country? Of course your children will. If Australia goes to shit, they can move somewhere else because they've got all these resources. There's a huge disconnect, and all I'm pointing out is that a lot of the people that claim to be on the right are not necessarily as committed to what we, the people, actually want as we think they are. Right. A lot of them are, but in my personal opinion, everybody is selfish. People try to act like politicians, they're corrupt. No, politicians are just being selfish like everybody else would. Everybody's after feathering their own nest. Why would the wealthy on any side of the political aisle be any different?
Well, that's where the populist movement will grow. I mean, if the populist movement realizes we the people, realize how badly we're being sold out at all these levels, well, then they'll kind of get up and do something different than, just pull the lever for one of the two major parties that are been selling them out for decades.
Yeah. Classical liberal theory would suggest, though, that, that people will... It's part of your self-interest to want your country to prosper, because if we have excessive crime, if we have social decay, if we don't have enough housing, we're going to get all these sorts of social problems. We're going to have all sorts of trouble. So
rich people get mugged too.
Yeah. So don't you want to work for the betterment of your country? I think what you were saying, Joel, is right. I think a lot of people are doing. I mean, I'm doing it because of that. I could be one of those guys at Noosa, on the beach and having a nice time.
Yeah.
And I don't blame any of those guys for doing that, because I see what they're up against.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are burnt out. And they've had enough. And but I think. I also don't want to hear them complaining about the left unless they're out there doing something, or they're donating something to the people who are doing something. It doesn't have to be me, just anybody.
Obviously.
Just get behind stuff.
There's a lot of good people.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I get, we've just set up our, small time donation thing for just viewers, to give a couple of bucks. And there's so many lovely people out there that are donating, who probably can't afford to, that are making that effort, making that commitment to contribute. And, I mean, it's just...
We had a similar situation with the and the viewers know this, with the Don Junior tour, when it went belly up, and we had Ticketek, we had Ticketbud. Ticketek refunded everyone in Sydney. Ticketbud had a joint account with Stripe, and we got cancelled. So all the ticket holders from Brisbane and Melbourne, their money was stuck in this Stripe account.
Oh wow!
And they weren't being refunded. And so obviously everyone's like, "Oh, Joel, you took the money."
That's immoral that they can do. Did Stripe get...
I've been told Stripe's got like $100 million legal fee every year for Australia to deal with these sorts of lawsuits and controversies. So look, we're trying to resolve it, but again, people's money's still locked in there. So we set up an email, refunds@tpaust.com.au. If you need a refund, go to us, get a refund. And we have refunded something like $300,000 out of our own pockets to people.
God.
Just to back them, because they didn't pick this fight. They just wanted to come to a show to see Don Jr. But this is the sort of just one attack we cop for trying to bring someone out to Australia that can help us change the cultural narrative. Look at what happened with Candace.
Yeah.
I was reminded of a quote from Julius Caesar when he was being stabbed in the back. When he was first being stabbed, he was fighting them off. until he saw his son, and he said, "You too, son." And then he stopped fighting. They killed him. I guess the toughest part about seeing this attack on the Candace Owens tour has been seeing Sky News, a lot of right-wingers saying, yeah, ban her, keep her out of the country, leading the charge. And I'm like, this is why I built a effing studio, because I still don't trust you guys. I remember what you did to Craig Kelly. I remember how during COVID you let us down because you needed that YouTube ad revenue. You didn't want to be banned, and you didn't stand up when we needed it. And there's a lot of former prime ministers and deputy prime ministers that didn't stand up during COVID, and now they want to whitewash over it. And I'm like, you guys let this country down. I am not fighting for you. I'm not fighting for the Liberal Party. I'm not fighting for the think tanks. I'm not fighting for the minor parties. I'm fighting for the people that watch this show, the people that come up to you. A beautiful couple the other day, they've lost everything, got kids and whatever. I say, hi, yep, whatever. I sat down, I had my meal with the people I was with. I get up to pay for the bill for the table that I was with. They went and got the bill. They paid for a $200 bill. Wow. You guys know who you are. I don't know. I don't know how to thank them except my podcast. I meet these people all the time, and I don't know how to thank them, so I just keep going with this. And that's what keeps me going. Those are the people I'm
the amazing thing, though, is you've got the audience, and I've got enough audience now to get a certain amount of advertising revenue. And I've only been approached by one advertiser.
I'll hook you up.
Pitched out to a bunch of Australian companies.
Okay.
But the one advertiser that approached us was from overseas. Oh, you're coming up on the algorithms as being the fastest growing news podcast in Australia, and we want to advertise on you. And they're doing great out of our show. Really great.
That's excellent.
Really good sales.
That's really
So where are the Aussies? Where are the Aussie businesses that want to reach, 40-plus-year-old Aussie men, which we deliver?
There are times in history where you need courage. All right, and we haven't encouraged courage. The people who have let us down during the pandemic, and the news organizations, the politicians that let this happen, and still haven't demanded accountability of the TGA, of the institutions. An event will happen again at some point where you need courageous people in government and in the media, and we cannot just whitewash over what's done and say, oh, let's let bygones be bygones. Absolutely not. You have to have people with courage. Otherwise, you're going to have a terrible result.
The other thing, too, though, is, I don't want charity. We don't want charity.
No,
the last thing that a couple of people who are independent, successful people want is going out and begging for bloody money. So I say to people on my show, don't support us unless you feel like you're getting value. If you're getting value out of the show and it's worth $4 a month to you, go ahead, support us. But it's with advertisers, it's the same thing. We actually have the eyeballs.
Yeah.
You need to reach that market.
Yeah.
Why are you advertising on, some network that's going to, probably not give you the eyeballs that has questionable ratings technology?
Not just the eyeballs, but not give you the truth.
Free-to-air television's ratings are kind of kooky.
Yeah.
And I wonder about, I would question some of that. But, why as an advertiser would you be supporting legacy old media and putting yourselves in environments that people don't really want to be in, that are not being watched, and ignore what is becoming the media? It's not the new media anymore; it's the media.
Yeah. Look at the USA.
Yeah,
the USA, the alt media were like what they pulled off with regards to the eyeballs. How Vivek built an entire following just from hitting up all the podcasts, and RFK as well. I mean, that was how Trump courted that young, especially male vote.
Totally.
But anyways, guys, we're getting close to the end of the show. There was one more story I